Let's go Dolphins! There are signs of chaos coming from inside the locker room. There's frustration, there's confusion, and above all, there's a growing sense that this team may be heading for a complete implosion. We're not just talking about poor performances on the field. We're talking about broken strategies, failed roster moves, and players who no longer seem to believe in what's being built. And it all starts with a coach who may be on the verge of losing control, and a general manager who should have been fired long ago. Chris Grier is still here, for reasons no one can explain, and the decisions he made are starting to haunt this team in real time. I'll explain it all to you, and I guarantee this is a side of the Dolphins you won't see anywhere else. But before we dive headfirst into the brewing storm in Miami, do me a favor, click the like button if you're aqua and orange. And if you've been with this team through thick and thin for over 20 years, leave a comment right now saying, "Go Dolphins!" My heart is aqua and orange. I want to see how many true fans we have here. Now, let's get to the truth, and it's not pretty. Alright, let's get to the news. Coming off a 27-24 meltdown against the Carolina Panthers, things somehow got even worse. And yes, I'm talking about a Panthers team that's been one of the worst in football this season. It's not just the loss, it's how we lost. This offensive line? A disaster. This defense? Collapsing. Injuries are piling up. The roster depth that Grier sold to us has improved? Non-existent. This team is unraveling fast, and I'm not sure how much longer McDaniel can hold the locker room together. Let's start with the offensive line, or what's left of it. Mike McDaniel confirmed that James Daniels and Austin Jackson, both eligible to return this week against the Chargers, will not be activated from IR. In fact, they're lumped into a group McDaniel described as several weeks away. That includes Liam Eichenberg and Andrew Meyer. That's not just bad news, it's devastating. Especially when you consider that the next two matchups are against the Chargers and Browns, two of the best defensive fronts in the NFL. We're going into those games with a patched-up O-line that just gave us 19 rushing yards last week. 19. That was dead last in the league for week 5. We averaged 1.4 yards per carry, 1.4. That's barely better than kneeling the ball. Cole Strange, who's been filling in at right guard, got embarrassed against Carolina. He was fine the week before against the Jets, but against Derek Brown and Deshaun Robinson, he got destroyed. An 18.1 pass blocking grade. 5 pressures allowed. Then you look at Larry Borom at right tackle. He's been starting since week 2 and has arguably been the worst right tackle in football. So we're not just dealing with injuries. We're dealing with guys who shouldn't be anywhere near a starting NFL lineup. But it gets worse. Jonas Savaiania, the second-round pick who was supposed to be a plug-and-play guard, has been the worst defensive lineman in football this year. Not just for the Dolphins, in the entire league. You drafted this guy to start right away, and what you're getting is the 86th best run blocker and 98th best pass blocker at his position. He's made fans miss Liam Eichenberg, and that is saying something. I've never seen a guy look so overwhelmed, so out of sync, so completely outmatched at the NFL level. And here's the kicker, there might not even be a better option. You'd be replacing him with Kean Smith, Daniel Brunskill, or Cole Strange. All equally bad. This is where we are right now. A team with Super Bowl aspirations is relying on a guard rotation that would get bullied in preseason games. And you can't even rotate them effectively because Daniels is out, Jackson is out, and your backups are liabilities. This isn't just bad luck, it's bad management. Grier should have built depth on this line, and he failed. Again. And then there's the defense. Tyrell Dodson is now in concussion protocol. He left the Panthers game halfway through, and Cornell Armstrong is out with a hamstring injury. That's multiple corners down. Jason Marshall Jr. is already on IR with a hamstring. Armstrong was the likely nickel corner in week 5. He played 23 snaps before the injury. So who takes over now? You've got Storm Duck, CB1 to start the season, who's been out for 4 weeks but wasn't placed on IR. If he misses week 6, that's 5 games out without IR designation, which makes no sense. Maybe he returns this week, but even then, your corner depth is toast. Rasul Douglas? Mostly an outside guy. Jack Jones? Same thing. Storm Duck? Barely played inside. Juju Brents? 4 snaps at nickel. Ethan Bonner? 0. You don't have a real nickel corner on this roster, which means the Dolphins might be forced to go with a 3-safety look, maybe even using Minkah Fitzpatrick or Ashton Davis in the slot, neither of whom is a true nickel defender. It's a patchwork solution, and we've seen how those go. And speaking of linebacker, if Dodson can't go, who's next to Jordan Brooks? You'd think it's Willie Gay Jr., right? He balled out in camp and preseason. But nope, the staff loves KJ Britt. He played 22 snaps after Dodson went out. Willie Gay started the game, but only played 3 snaps. Why start him at all then? It's baffling. Gay is more athletic, more versatile, more dynamic. but they're going with Britt because he's a fit next to Brooks. I'm sorry, but just play your best players. You're 1-4. This is not the time to get cute with fit and scheme. It's time to survive. Because if the Miami Dolphins don't make some hard decisions right now, this season is going to spiral even further out of control. Let's start with Jonah Savaiania. Look, no one is saying benching a rookie second-round pick after just 5 games is ideal, but this isn't about ego or draft status anymore. This is about fielding a functional offensive line that doesn't completely derail your offense. Every snap Jonah takes right now is a reminder that he's not ready. And what happens when a young player continues to fail on the field? Confidence tanks. Technique regresses. You risk ruining the player before he ever has a real shot to develop. So yes, it's a tough call, but maybe it's the right one. Sit him down. Let him watch tape. Let him slow the game down from the sideline. Get his feet under him mentally before throwing him back into the fire. Because right now, he's not getting better. He's getting worse, and it's hurting the entire offense. But again, the problem? Even if you bench him, who's better? Cole Strange? Kean Smith? Daniel Brunskill? This isn't depth. It's a rotating cast of subpar backups. It's a vicious cycle. And again, this all circles back to Chris Greer's failed roster construction. The offensive line was supposed to be improved. Instead, it's one of the worst in the NFL. Now let's circle back to the defense, specifically the cornerback room. The injuries are stacking up, and it's creating massive holes in coverage. Jason Marshall Jr., your rookie with huge expectations, still on IR. Cornell Armstrong, who was filling in admirably in the nickel, out with a hamstring. Now, maybe Storm Duck comes back this week. That would help. But even if he does, who covers the slot? The reality is, this team doesn't have a true nickel corner right now. They're going to be forced into unconventional alignments, maybe using a safety like Minkah Fitzpatrick or Ashton Davis inside. Think about what that means. You're putting guys out of position in a defense that's already reeling. That's going to open up mismatches, especially against offenses like the Chargers, who love to attack the middle of the field. And when your pass rush is struggling, and your linebackers are inconsistent in coverage, that's a recipe for disaster. You're just hoping to survive drives instead of shutting teams down. And speaking of linebackers, can we just talk about this baffling situation with Willie Gay Jr.? He starts the game, then plays 3 snaps? What are we doing? If he's good enough to be on the field for the first play, why not the rest? KJ Britt came in after Dotson went down and logged 22 snaps, but at no point did he look like a guy who should be starting in an NFL game. Meanwhile, Gay has the athleticism, the speed, the instincts, but the staff seems locked into this weird rotational plan that doesn't make sense. It feels like a coaching staff in panic mode. And while Mike McDaniel deserves some credit for his offensive creativity and locker room management, at some point you have to wonder, is this team tuning him out? When you see the same mistakes, the same collapses, the same weak spots, week after week, it's not just on the players anymore. It's on the head coach. And I hate to say it, but if this keeps up, it's not a matter of if McDaniel gets fired, it's when. And honestly, I'll have the news for you the moment it drops. Now let's take a moment to recognize how dire this has become. This team is 1-4. The offensive line is crumbling. The defense is banged up and soft. The coaching staff is spinning its wheels. And we haven't even gotten to the toughest part of the schedule yet. The Chargers, Browns, Jets again, all looming. And we're going into these games without key starters, without a functional scheme, without an identity. This isn't just a slow start. This is a team in crisis. And you have to wonder, how much longer can the front office keep selling this vision? Greer's had years to build this thing, and yet here we are. It's time